First, because I don't think I have the audio for it, probably one of the biggest moments of the night is when Wallace asks Trump to basically call out these hate groups and go on record and saying that he condemns them. And he says sure twice, but he doesn't condemn them officially or by name. And then he shouted out this group known as the Proud Boys, which while they claim that they have no affiliation with hate groups, it's well documented that they do. What did you think about that moment?
Well, it was a layup for the president. Obviously, he does not support hate groups of any type in any way, and he should have just said that. I don't quite understand how you can blow that question. It's about as simple as it comes.
Well, he came out and he said, "What do you want me to say?"
No. It's simple. I mean,
right.
The question, the answer was written for him by the question.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's a no-brainer. I mean, how could you mess that up?
Do you condemn the KKK, white supremacy groups? And then he should turn around at that moment and say, I do condemn the KKK and white supremacy groups. Mm-hmm. He didn't
or any group peddling hate. That's all.
Right. Okay, so let's try this one here. We're going to talk about insulin. So if you can't hear the audio, just let us know right away. Here we go.
Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care. All of the things that we've done, insulin. I give you an example. Insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people because I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water. You want to know the truth. Water. So cheap.
So they're talking about Obamacare at that moment. What about that portion of the night? What did you think?
Well, I think that Trump does have a good line of attack with the 47 years. Of course, he didn't execute that. I mean, that's a great theme to stick with throughout the night. Anytime something comes up, Joe, you've been in government for 47 years. You didn't fix it. You had the House and the Senate for 2 years with President Obama. You didn't fix it. I'm going to fix these things. But the president is, tragically incapable of being able to follow direction, follow a logical line of thinking and stick to a theme. So he jumps all over the map. Next thing you know, we're talking about insulin and water, and it just, and again, it was a blown opportunity where he could have really just pounded away on Joe from start to finish about that he's been in government too long.
And while there were a lot of gaffes on Trump's part, and a lot of, there's not even words for it. He was misbehaving like a child. On the flip side, Joe does not look well to me, and there's a lot of stuttering. There's a lot of him correcting himself. Do you notice that?
It does go on. Yes, absolutely. I didn't like where he told him to shut up. I thought at that point he's been dragged down to, a different level.
I don't think, I got to disagree with you there. I don't think he had a choice. I think we all knew what to expect. We got what we expected from Trump, and he looks weak if he doesn't at some point tell him to shut up. And here's the moment you were talking about.
Vote now. Make sure you, in fact, let people know you're a senator. I'm not going to answer the question.
Why would you answer that question?
The question is,
radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your...
So he wouldn't let him talk. I mean, at some point he has to get to it, but I cut you off. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think, look, Biden is doing the classic debate trick of never answer the question that's been asked of you, answer the question you want to answer. So, if you have three themes set up for the night, no matter what the question is, yeah, that's true. But, how about those Yankees? Aren't they having a great season? You just go right back to whatever your theme is for the evening. So, or hasn't Joe been in government for way too long? So that's a standard, debate tactic that people have been deploying for centuries. So, but I don't know. Conversely, I think Trump, I would have let Biden speak more. I would have, knowing that he's going to jumble his words and get himself backed into a corner or say something that's not correct. And in fact, he sort of had an opportunity to do that when they got into the topic of Hunter, his son, who, not the war hero, but the other son who has taken money from the Ukraine, has done a lot of shady dealings with Russia, but he just didn't, Trump has a hard time following directions and mapping out a debate strategy, and he knows better than everybody else in the room. And that stuff comes back to hurt you when you're trying to pull together a campaign for 330 million people.
Danbury Mayor Mark Boughton joining the show. And we're kind of doing a little bit of a different thing here because we had this historic presidential debate. What do you think about the New York Times story? If this is true, it is. I mean, it should be, about Trump's tax paying $750 in taxes. If it's true, everybody should be outraged. But you can't get a straight answer. He won't release his tax returns because he says he's under audit. What do you make of all this?
Well, first of all, he is under audit. That's
right.
One thing
well, that we know. But I'm saying, is that
right.
Can you not release your tax returns when under audit?
I look. I've never been under audit, thank God. But I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But I will say that if we're specifically talking about Trump's businesses, their businesses use every tactic in the book to lower their tax liability, like Amazon, like every other Boeing, every other major company in the United States of America. It doesn't make it right, but it is what the playing field is. And if you want to change that, you got to change the rules and close the loopholes. So I don't necessarily blame him for that. I would love to know his personal liability and what he paid personally, and he's very unclear as to what that is.
In general, all your years, because enough with the audio here, because it's not on the big hitting points. When we're all sitting and watching this thing, when you were done watching it, what was your major takeaway?
My takeaway was that it was pretty much a dumpster fire, that, I don't think America benefited at all by this. And I think, with 330 million people in this country, we should be better, and we should have candidates that are better.
That's exactly what I said to my wife. I turned to her after it was over, and I said, and it's not fair. The way we are portrayed and portray ourselves is as we are completely unintelligent dopes walking into walls. It's just not true. This country is loaded with wildly intelligent people. I said to her, these two options are the best we can do.
Right. And, and I got to say, you look at the local level. I mean, right or wrong, last year, we had a very competitive race here in Danbury, and there was a substantive discussion of issues, and the debates were informative, and people, they were cordial, and people could kind of understand where everybody stood on things and make a informed decision. I don't think anybody walked out of that room the other night and said, "Oh, I get it. This guy's for this or that guy's for this." It was just terrible. It was like two uncles yelling at each other at a Thanksgiving dinner.
That's right.
And finally you just stand up and go, "Will you two shut up and eat your turkey?"
I got to the point during I lasted 30 minutes. I know I should have watched the whole thing, being a broadcast professional.
I've watched it twice now. I couldn't get enough.
And it just filled me with such anxiety. And I don't get anxiety very often. I had to go to bed. I couldn't do it anymore.
It is stressful. You want to know whether you like the candidate, don't like the candidate, that the country will be in good hands when you go to bed at night. And I think we've always had that up to this point. I don't know. And if I could just say one more thing, I think Trump has a great argument, right? If I'm Trump, I'd stand up there and say, "Listen, I'm a disruptor. You hired me to go and blow up the system. I did that. It's not pretty. I'm not always right. But you know what? I'm doing what you're paying me to do, and we're getting results. Look at the stock market. Look at this. Look at that." There's 100 million different points of positive things he could talk about, and then bring it all back and say, "But we all have to do this together, and we've got to work together," right? And it's a good argument for what people want right now, because they're tired of the same old. But he just can't do that in a rational manner that people buy into it. Like every good thing he does, you take two steps backwards on something else.
I understand that,
so frustrating.
But I think with all that we just talked about, the scariest thing that I took away from it was if you read between the lines and you didn't have to, read that far. Trump said, if I don't win, I'm going to make this, it's going to go to the courts. He's all but encouraging people, his watchers. What we're setting the table for is a disastrous November in this country. Not only just from the way it's set up with all the mail-in voting, we're not going to get the election results the night of, so that's going to stretch on for probably a month. And then he's saying, it's a fraudulent system already. But nobody asked the question, well, what if you win outright? Are you going to challenge it then?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you only have to go back to 2000 and know that, we've been in court before, right up through Thanksgiving. But I also think that you had two gentlemen there, whoever you voted for and whoever you supported, backed by teams of gentle ladies and gentlemen that were going to fight as hard as they could but they were going to fight in the courts, in a legal manner, and that both would accept the ultimate outcome. Now, you remember Al Gore took back his concession. That's never been done before at 3:00 in the morning. But I think, he probably had, a rational reason to do that, in that Florida was a lot closer than people realized. So I think that just saying before you even cast a ballot that, listen, we're going to court, that I think is over the top. And it does. I was thinking about this morning. I didn't know we were going to talk about this today. I had no idea, but I was thinking about this morning. I was thinking, the presidency is such a powerful seat that when you say something, there's a large percentage of people, no matter what you say, that believe you 100% without any verification. So that gives the president a special duty to be truthful, to be transparent, and to go out there and say, I trust and believe in the system, i.e., I will accept the results of the election, no matter what happens, win, lose, or draw.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. We are already in the election process. It's begun.
He's undermining the process.
Exactly.
Right.
And this is no time. This is no time to question the process. It's no time to re-examine it. It's no time to alter it. That has to be done far away from the election process, or we're all in deep trouble. That's all. That's my only point about that.
And that, I just want to say this to your listeners. I mean, in terms of Connecticut and these mail-in applications that they've received in the mail, understand that we have a number of checkpoints in the registrar's office and the town clerk's office to make sure that if you're asking for a ballot, you're a registered voter in the city of Danbury, and that if you mail your ballot in, we know that you already did that. And if you try to show up at your local polling place on election day and vote again, we're going to catch you. And if we feel that this is a pattern of conduct by a person or groups of people, we will forward you to the state's attorney's office for prosecution. It's a felony and 5 years in prison, and a federal crime as well. So you can feel very confident that here in Danbury, our system is designed to dispel that kind of cheating or manipulation of ballots. It doesn't happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen in other cities in Connecticut. I know one city in particular where it's just outrageous what goes on with absentee ballots and applications. But here in Danbury, we've got it down. And that's true for the entire greater Danbury area. All of our town clerks and registrars do a great job. And you can feel confident that people aren't voting twice and they're not cheating and all this other stuff.
This is a great segment. Informative. This was helpful.
Serious.
We needed, because with these kind of subjects, I really like to get an expert opinion rather than Ethan and I just kind of saying how we feel, So we appreciate your perspective on this, and I think you handled it fairly.
Yeah, and look, there are places in the country where people, there aren't as tight controls on ballots and things like that. And people, a lot of times you're dealing with volunteers, you're dealing with people that are temporary workers that aren't trained properly, and things happen, right? But I think locally, across Western Connecticut, I'm always confident in the results when they come out, win, lose, or draw. And look, I've won and lost. I like winning a lot more than losing, but in the times that I've lost, I've never said, hey, I got to question the system, or this went on, or that went on. Now, it doesn't mean sometimes shaky things don't happen, but generally speaking, I have full faith, trust, and confidence in what we do here.
All right, Danbury Mayor Mark Boughton, we appreciate you.
Thank you, Mark.
Very much. We're way, way late, so we'll talk to you again next week.
All right, something about Mary. 6-minute abs.
All right. I think that's just what we need right now.
We need something about Mary. There you go. Danbury Mayor Mark Boughton.